We're here with Home Connect TV expert Cyndy Tomassetti, a broker associate with Engel and Volkers. And Cyndy, heartbreaking images of Hurricane Ian for sure. And there's a lot of misinformation going on about should you report storm damage to your property? Should you not? Tell us the real deal.
So here's the real deal. If you're a seller and you know that you have property damage, you have to disclose it. I see people saying that that's not the case. It's not true. Buyer beware, or the doctrine of caveat emptor, does not exempt the seller from the responsibility of relaying that there's been damage to their property. Even if it's an as-is contract, it still needs to be reported. If we look at a standard purchase and sale contract, it is going to specifically ask, have any casualties occurred to this property, including but not limited to fire, flood, wind, rain, hail, sinkholes? And then how was the property fixed? Did you file an insurance claim? Did you fix it to code? All important details.
So you can get yourself in real trouble by not reporting this. Let's go over the details and the guidelines of what we need to know.
Absolutely. So the state of Florida lays out 4 parameters. First of all, does the seller know about the defect? Second, and most importantly, does it materially affect the value of the property? Third, was it unbeknownst to the buyer? Was it not readily observable? And fourth, can the buyer establish that the seller knew about the damage? So readily observable, you open the front door, there's a big hole in the floor. Readily observable, you walk out to the dock, there's planks missing. So concealment, and this is the case that was in front of the Supreme Court of Florida, Johnson versus Davis, in which the sellers knew they had water damage. They knew they had leaks, and they painted and plastered over it. When the buyers asked, they said that it was a minor remodel. Well, it did not end well for the sellers. It was considered concealment by fraud with all the thousands of dollars of penalties and other bad things that go along with that.
Okay, very interesting. Really good information. So the seller, what can they do to protect themselves after the fact?
So the seller, maybe the seller wants to get it inspected, but here's what a buyer should do, is a buyer should always get an inspection, no matter how great the property looks. And in some cases, the buyer wants to hire a specialized inspector. I'll give you a great example. I had a couple looking to purchase waterfront property, and I suggested that they get an inspector who had specialized knowledge in structural engineering. Well, guess what? Unbeknownst to the seller, the bulkhead was a major failure. There was starting to be some erosion, which would have led to not only the failure of the bulkhead in the seawall, but also to the structural integrity of the property. So spending that $300 on a specialized inspector saved those buyers tens of thousands of dollars.
Just dotting those I's and crossing the T's, very important. Any other things we need to know to protect ourselves?
So just words of wisdom. If you're the seller, disclose, disclose, disclose. And if you're a buyer, please, please, please hire an inspector.
Okay, great advice as always, Cyndy.
Thank you.
And of course, our thoughts and prayers with all those affected by Ian. And for us, of course, make sure you watch Home Connect TV. Just wonderful television with hundreds of homes for sale across the First Coast.